Now that we are at the point of having the imagery done, I just want to remind you guys of a few things to kind of turn this into a full board comic. And we're going to make a frame around it, and we're going to add some text bubbles and some text. This is also in the previous tutorial, so if you don't need this, don't worry about it. But if you want to follow along with this video, that's fine. So the first thing we did when we made a like if you want to make a border around the entire picture, was we made a new layer. So we click on a new layer button, and there it goes. Sometimes it lags and I end up pressing twice and I have to get rid of one, but that's the way it is. And then I'm just going to fill this with any color. So I'm just going to go back to edit, fill ... It's still on gray. I don't really care. So you could be on anything. And I click OK. Because remember, we got rid of the fill by getting rid of the fill opacity. So I'll show that to you in 1 second. And if you go down to where it says EFF down here, that's like your FX button in Photoshop. So we're going to go to Effects, and we're going to go to Stroke. And this is where you can change your position. And if you want to make it a color, you can make it whatever color you want. Even like a light blue or something like that. It's up to you if you want to leave it black and white. That's up to you as well. Remember, in Photopea, you have to click the OK button inside the window. You just can't close out of it. And I'm going to make sure this is positioned on the inside, because now as I increase this, you can see it working its way in as a frame in the picture. Okay, so I'm not going to make this too big. I'll leave that up to you. Any size between 20 and 40 would probably work. That also depends on how big your picture is when you started. But you just want a little bit of a border there. And I'm going to click OK. So now that is fully applied to this layer. And we want to be able to see through this. So do you see where it says fill? Right here, this is your fill opacity. You can also get to this in the effects window, but it's also right here. So not on opacity, that's going to stay the same, and that's going to leave our border. But the fill is everything that's not an effect. So when I bring the fill down to 0, you can now see through the picture, but the effects stay the same. If I had this, since it's gray, up a little bit, it's going to end up kind of like adding a little bit, because you're seeing through this. So it's a way to kind of like tone down the background a little bit, but we're just going to bring this all the way down to 0. But that's a good trick to know if you ever wanted to kind of mute out a picture to put underneath text or something down the road. It's a good little trick to know. Okay, so now we have a border, and if you want to make stroke bubbles, I would add another new layer for this. So here we go, new layer. And remember, you can label your layers if you want to, if they're hard to keep track of. But I'm gonna kind of just skip over that, because you could kind of see what's going on by looking at the thumbnail pictures. And if you remember, we have a custom shape tool, which is located in this toolbox here. Now, depending on your screen setup, this tool should be the one that's above the zoom tool. And you have to click and hold on it and find custom shape. So usually it's set to rectangle. You might have to change that to custom shape. And if you want a speech bubble, I'm going to do a fill of white, and I'm going to do stroke. Let's just go with red. And you could change this later on. I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger for now. I'm not sure how big is going to be right, but I'll just make it 11 points for now. And the actual shape itself is, if I'm following across this control bar here, it's toward the end of the control bar. It says shape. And when I click on that, it takes a second for them to load. And here we are. And here's all the shapes that are kind of preset built-in shapes in Photopea. And I found the speech bubble. And I can click on the screen and drag. There we go. And there's my speech bubble. That's not the one I wanted, so let's undo that. So that speech bubble is just a border. The other speech bubble, the one that's completely filled in black, I guess will give us the right results. So sorry about that. So you have to undo or, you know, make a new layer or whatever. If you want the other way, you could do it the other way. And I click and drag, and there's my beautiful speech bubble. If I want this to be turned around or flipped over, I can do that as well, and I can scale it just by using the transform controls that are along the sides of the picture. So all those little tabs that are here, you know, you click on these, and that's how I'm doing that. Okay, and that's using the move tool. All right, so here's George Clooney. If you go outside the corner, I can kind of rotate this so it's actually like facing him a little more. And if I want to type stuff in, I suggested this to you last time, if you take the type tool and you click off someplace else to start, it's probably better to type off to the side than right on top of the speech bubble, because it might try to lock in on the speech bubble. Now I'm going to just start typing some gibberish here. I'm on the keyboard and hit return every now and then. And I can't see my text because it's black, first of all. So at the top of my screen here, I'm going to change this. For now, I'm just going to change to a color so I can see it, and then I'll change it back. All right, so probably helps if I highlight it. So I'm going to take my type tool. Hey, I didn't have it highlighted. If you want to highlight the whole text, if you take your text tool and just click in the middle of text and then hit Command A, see now it's all highlighted. Now when I change the color, it will change. There we go. And that helps me because now when I move it over onto the text bubble, I can actually see what's going on over here, and I can start spacing this out and making it bigger and doing all that kind of stuff to get it to fit into the text bubble. This might take a little bit of time for you to kind of space it out, right? You know, less words is better. And, you know, these projects are kind of silly, so you can make it random. You know, play around with the font. Don't just settle on the first font you see. You know, try to find one that works with, you know, as a cartoon text. And there we go. That's not that bad. And, you know, you do have to play around with the spacing and stuff like that. So if I was George Clooney and I was wearing a tuxedo, you might want to write, you know, I wear tuxedos even whenever I eat pasta. I wear a tuxedo in the rain. And it could say whatever you want. And then maybe on this side you can make another one, or you could just write a little story in there, and then it's balanced out and it'll look fine. Okay, so that's how you add these extra elements to your illustration. And I hope you have fun again with this project. You know, make it random, make it crazy, and enjoy. And I will be talking to you guys soon. Don't forget to save.